between strategy and tactics. And Paul corrected him and said, it's really not a question of strategy versus tactics. It's really a question of strategy versus opportunism. And that was that clicked for me, immediately.
See how being aware, right? Rich was aware of that one idea, that one concept that there's something to that. Boom. And it's been worth multiple millions of dollars. One idea, being aware, paying attention, being intentional about that.
Yeah, and Paul's a business coach too, and a very good one. But it came out of his mouth and my pocket.
Talk about Joe Seinfeld. Darn you! I'm sure he's probably like business manifesto, mother.
Yeah, when I get interested in a topic, I read a tremendous amount. And one of the and I'm reading because I want to learn more, I want to know more, I want to understand more. But another thing I'm looking for is the way things are described, and does it land for me? There are concepts that I've learned that, when I learn them, I'm like, yeah, I got it. And then, 3 months later or 4 months later, I come across it said another way or explained differently. And all of a sudden, the level of, depth that I get it goes from, this much to, that much. And sometimes it's just because of where I was personally, but a lot of the times it's the way it's articulated. And whenever I come across something like that, I circle it, I take it out, because it's okay, this is the way to describe that. Anything that, I'm always taking the perspective that if it lands on me, it'll land on others, right? And so I consistently, anytime I come across something in a book that is powerful, I'm like, wow, I put it to the side. Anything that's describing a problem, just anything, even if it's outside my topic, just because who knows when I might want to use it, or sometimes it's just about looking at it and understanding why it worked. Why did it create an emotional response in me? So I consistently go back there. So anyway, the manifesto was really about getting people to see the problem differently, get them to see that the real problem was not knowing enough about business itself, which was causing all these other problems, to open up the need that what they really needed to learn was about business, not about more marketing. And, the results kind of speak for themselves. And immediately after that, like a week or two later, I wrote another report called The Missing Chapter. And I took the same approach. I asked readers why they wouldn't be successful now that they knew what they knew in the manifesto. And they told me all these reasons. And when I boiled all these reasons down, this, that, the other, I said all of those reasons stem from not building a business around your strength, not a place where you can easily provide value. And lo and behold, the second module in my program is all about discovering your strengths and building your business around it. So there was a context for that. I would say I was surprised by by the success of the manifesto. I had no idea that those 30 or so pages were going to radically change my life, and they did. So then I immediately wrote more reports, because hey, why not? But I kind of lost track of, I think all of the reports had big ideas, and we can go through them or whatnot. But it wasn't until the last report I wrote that I really had kind of cracked the nut of what made the first one so successful. So there was, the Internet Business Manifesto, the Missing Chapter, the Final Chapter, the Attention H Doctrine 1, the Attention H Doctrine 2, the Maven Manifesto, and then the last one was the Entrepreneurial Emergency, the Uncertainty Syndrome. And it was really my first and my last that were the most successful, because all through the other ones, I was trying to figure out what made the first one work so well. And what both of those have in common was that you think the problem is X, so you're doing Y, but the real problem is Z, and Y makes Z worse, if that you follow that logic. And so, in the Internet Business Manifesto, it was this distinction between opportunity seeker and strategic entrepreneur, and in the entrepreneurial emergency, uncertainty syndrome, it was that you keep thinking increasing your potential is going to cause greater success when it's really what's stopping you from tapping your full potential now. Because adding more potential doesn't add to more success. You've already added a lot more potential and you're not more successful. So those two reports were different in the sense that they really kind of turned the perspective completely around and then offered a solution with that new perspective.
It's crazy, right? I mean, it's unbelievable.
You know, and I would say, though, that the ideas come to me primarily based on what I said in the beginning, the position I'm taking, that cause and effect is a lot like it's not as obvious as it seems, that people are struggling and therefore there's a solution that nobody sees that I will find. And then I'm going to go through everything that I go through looking for clues that support that, right? So that, you know, anything that supports this belief that everyone's looking at it wrong is part of what I'm gathering, so that by the time I'm done, I have a lot of proof, right? And it's really about, you know, it's like when I got diagnosed with ADD, my life didn't get any better, like at all. You know, it didn't occur to me at that moment that, like, actually, like, I'm going to have that now. If I want to get rid of it, I got to take drugs or whatever. But in that moment, I felt like a tremendous amount of relief because it just was like, no wonder, like, you know, and
it really isn't my fault.
Yeah, you know, it's not my fault.
It really isn't.
I couldn't have succeeded doing it that way, right? And one of the things I've done, like in a webinar that I recorded a couple of years ago, was actually look at the things that people do that they don't like about themselves, right? Like staying up all night in front of the computer, you know, being kind of an info addict, those kinds of things, and positioning those as positive characteristics by looking at the positive intent. Every bad behavior has a positive intent, right? Like we don't do anything without a reason. Even taking drugs, like, you know, there's a positive intent there. And looking at the positive intent, showing them that the positive intent is actually a driver of success, but just misapplied, right? So I think I have it here.
You want to take that?
Yeah, this one. There were like a couple things I could draw too that would make. So, you know, I took like unsure which marketing tactics to use, right? Like that's what they're feeling. Well, the positive trait behind that, because I didn't call it positive intent because that would have been a little bit too transparent. Trying to find and use best practices. That's a good thing, right? Wasting more and more of my life online means that underneath that, you have a trait of willing to do whatever it takes to succeed. So what I'm doing in this is kind of working on the self-esteem of the prospect, making them feel better about who they are, and making the method, like the way they've been trying to achieve success, really the guilty party in it. Because I'm a big believer in another thing that Dan Kennedy, you know, Todd's mentioned him a couple times. Another thing that Dan Kennedy says, which is that, you know, the biggest problem oftentimes in marketing is the self-esteem of your prospect. Like the belief that they can't do it. Like you've been successful, you might have even taught a lot of people to be successful, but if you knew my story and you knew how messed up I was, you would know that I couldn't succeed. So I'm taking that as a given. I'm taking it that, like, most people who I'm speaking to feel that way about themselves, and so I need to kind of hit that button, so to speak, and get them to get off of their sob story and thinking that they're flawed, and get them to see that the flaw has never been in them, but it's been in the method that they have been applying.
It's a huge...
The overwhelm, basically.
Well, yeah, I mean, if someone's feeling overwhelmed, you know, and the first thing is that what I would say is, like, in fiction writing, they talk a lot about, like, show, don't tell, right? So what does that overwhelm